Good afternoon, everybody. This is Adrienne Montgomery with ERP VAR. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're joined by Artzel, and we're going to be talking about transforming your platform with digital transformation technology. We're going to get started in just a second here. Just a couple of housekeeping notes. If you note on your webinar pane, you'll see that there's a couple buttons next to your name. If you should have any questions throughout the presentation, we just ask that you click on that question mark button and a dialog box will open up and you can key in your question. We'll be reserving the announcing of those questions until the end of the webinar. And once again, thank you so much for joining us. We know your time is hard to come by and we really appreciate you spending it with us. Today we're going to be talking about digital transformation technology and how to eliminate manual data entry, automatically matching POs, invoices, reducing errors in Sage ERP by validating invoice data against Sage vendor master file, streamlining GL, reducing AP invoice cycle times, and delivering timely access to that data that's so crucial to your business. So with that said, I'm going to hand it over to Will over at Artzel, Will Stagel. He's joining us. He'll be our panelist and presenter today. Thank you so much, Will.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you, Adrienne. Well, after that mouthful, you can see that we've got a packed agenda here of items to cover. Again, I'm Will Stagel with Artzel. We're going to introduce you today to Artzel's product, the Artzel Transformation Platform. So that product is focused on eliminating some of the biggest pain points in the processes in most businesses today, including dealing with accounts payable vendor invoices, and all of the data entry and document handling and routings and approvals that are part of that process. How we eliminate things like the manual data entry, we automate the validation process of data, we do things like allow you to automatically match purchase orders and invoices, eliminate duplicates. So all of that becomes automated as part of your AP process. We also offer similar functionality for sales order processes and other business processes as well. So with that, just a quick background on Artzel. We were founded in 2002 with offices in the US and Canada. We're headquartered out of Toronto. Our development is out of Kiev in the Ukraine, and we support a worldwide partner network. So our company believes that business process automation is essential for document-based data processes. There's too much error, too much efficiency in the way we do things when we don't rely on the tools that we have on hand. Doc Alpha, which is the transformation platform product, has been evolving over the years. So it's been around for over a decade. And as the way that we accumulate data and knowledge in our business world has changed, multiple channels of information from faxes to emails to uploaded files, etc. Our product has also evolved, and it's become more intelligent, more flexible, and more adaptable over time too. We are committed to a channel model, by the way, so we welcome conversations that we can have with Sage VARs out there, and we're always looking for new ones to work with. One thing I'm going to point out, by the way, during the course of this presentation, if you see the Sage logo and you see Intacct there, we are speaking broadly to the Sage ERP community. So that Sage signifies Sage 100, Sage 300, etc., as well as Intacct, and with Intacct being the new addition to the Sage family, that's why you'll see the name called out there. But I know that my audience consists of a lot of people relying on their tried and true Sage ERP systems, and our focus, regardless of which one you're using, is to provide a complete end-to-end solution that helps you continue to get value out of the system that you're using today. So we believe that the pace at which business needs to be conducted should not be restricted by your data. Also, extracting and acting on relevant data within a document should be easy and it should be automated. And for the people who come to us looking for a solution, they tell us that's not the case. They have all kinds of pains around error rates, pains around scalability, meaning oftentimes they're coming to us when the debate is between adding staff members just to deal with processing invoices or putting something intelligent and automated in place. So as your business grows and new documents are processed, the system should be adaptable to the content you're putting into the system, as well as to the volume of documents that are coming into your organization as well. So ERPs such as Sage have many business modules, such as financials, which has associated documents that contain data, as does all the other modules in Sage, whether it's asset or order or contract management. All of those have a document component associated with them, and those need to be processed by extracting information from them and validating the data contained within them to support the business process. So how do most organizations deal with that today? The answer is they do it manually. There are people physically sorting printed invoices, which shocks me, but probably isn't a surprise to you, right? And we found ways to take the pain and bottlenecks out of that process to give people greater clarity and greater control. So we transform documents into actionable data and provide it to the different business processes, which is, to us, a basic requirement. And this is what we address. We make sure the data provided is accurate, complies to business rules, and is routed unassisted throughout a business environment. So that brings us to the Untitled Transformation Platform, which helps to streamline operations and manage costs. The foundation of the platform has many services and underlying technologies, which allow for an easy and customizable implementation for automating processes for any application or any document type. So I should point out too that the platform can be deployed on-premise, it can be hosted, it can be software as a service as the implementation model. So at the core, there's four major elements to the process here. First, we're acquiring documents. We do this through multi-channel input, ingesting documents from just about anywhere, any device. So if you have emails coming into the organization, you've got physical documents that need to be scanned, we pull together and ingest all those documents for you in an automated fashion to make it simple and easy. So we automatically acquire documents from file shares, network folders, emails, and then we register them with the system and kick off the appropriate process. Then we transform the documents. We read the document, we classify it, extract relevant data, validate it against business and process rules. Then we automatically route the documents based on given states and defined requirements. If actions required, users are notified. So you no longer have to wonder, where is that invoice sitting in the approval process, if it's in someone's physical inbox or even their email inbox. You can set alerts so that people are triggered and notified when an action needs to take place that's been missed or overlooked. So that provides expedient processing, making information more readily available. Lastly, documents and data are loaded into Sage into the appropriate module. So it allows you to create those transaction records automatically. Again, so you're not wasting staff time rekeying information. So one thing of note is that as a result of years of working with documents and gaining a lot of knowledge of our customer requirements, we provide out-of-the-box functionality for common document types. So whether that's invoices, whether that's orders, whether it's expense reports or remittance processing, we give you solutions that don't need any custom coding. So getting them deployed and achieving that return on investment is something that happens within weeks or months rather than a year. So we're going to talk a little bit now about Invoice Action. Invoice Action is part of that action platform of solutions that we offer. And it's focused, again, obviously, on the AP automation process itself. I'm going to wait for my slides to catch up with me here. I got a little behind. Okay, so let's say invoices come in as an email attachment, or a user uploads them from their desktop or portal, or multiple invoices come in which were scanned in the mailroom. We're going to talk about 3 specific use cases and scenarios here and show how automation can help to take the bottlenecks out of all these processes and ensure that you go end-to-end from the receipt of an invoice to payment and to the record of that transaction in your Sage ERP system. So we monitor specific mailboxes looking for invoices as attachments. Then we automatically detach the invoice, we read it, we classify it, and then we apply the appropriate business rules to it. So again, no manual intervention here. This is something that's happening automatically once you've actually received that document digitally into your organization. So a unique function that's part of the DocAlpha transformation platform is that we use a methodology we called cascading database lookups that allow us to reference multiple data fields within the database systems you've got in place to help classify a document. So to distinguish a purchase order from an invoice, even potentially to distinguish it from an HR document that maybe came in through that channel like a job application or something like that. So the system intelligently has ways to very quickly analyze and identify the type of document you're talking about without a human being having to configure it or direct it, right? That all happens intelligently. So in our example, after going through all the extraction and validation processes, meaning pulling out the relevant data for an invoice, for example, and validating that all of the invoice information is correct, such as the vendor name and the vendor address, you're ensured that there's no errors and all the data is processed and exported directly into Sage, resulting in a straight-through process. So in our second example, we talked about a user uploads documents, and they're doing so using the image acquisition client that's part of DocAlpha. So these are DocAlpha screens here. We're just showing you how easy it is to select the files, browse to the file location, and now you've basically identified a document to have the information extracted from it, and then you can assign it to the appropriate workflow. So again, the first step that we're achieving is we're pulling the data out of the document itself. Now we're looking at the business rules you've defined for a workflow to decide where does this document need to go and how is it going to be handled. So during this process, the vendor and invoice data is reconciled against multiple databases to ensure what is being invoice matched and falls into expectations. So this is where we can do things like PO matching, because we can look through the record of other documents you've got in the system and find that match for you automatically. It also ensures that there's not a duplicate invoice. So it will flag and identify when you've got a duplicate in there. And that will make sure that you've got all the information handy to eliminate duplicate payments. But you've also got the data to trigger things like alerts for early pay discounts or flag when there's any outstanding credits that might be applied. So in this example, there's a rule for this vendor that if any invoice is over $3,000, it requires approval for payment. The approver is going to be notified by email, and they're going to get an email that has a link embedded in it. That link is going to take them to the approver client within our platform and give them all the information that they need to take action. So they can approve, reject, redirect, escalate, delete, or comment on this invoice. And everything here is done digitally. It's immediately visible to the other stakeholders in the process. Best of all, if they need to do any GL coding, all those codes are referenced and accessible here. So you don't have to worry about data entry errors when it comes to coding. And you can also provide a set of GL codes for that approver so that they don't go out of bounds and they select the appropriate code as well. So in this example, the invoice is approved and sent for export into Sage, into the Sage financial model. In our third example, multiple scan documents come in as a single PDF into the organization. Here we can split the invoices such that they're not bound together and can be processed separately if needed. Right, so that means there could be a mix there. It could be the quote, it could be the order, it could be the invoice. It could be those things batch scanned in with documents from other departments as well. But the system is intelligent enough to identify each of those document types relevant to your AP process. So in this case, in our scenario here, three exceptions were flagged. A data could not be extracted. Maybe there was a scan that wasn't good. A duplicate invoice was identified and flagged. And a quantity mismatch was actually detected by the system for you automatically as well. So the invoices are sent for verification, and a notification is sent out. So this is the verification client. You can see there's a lot going on here on the screen, but this is basically the invoice in question and some data fields that represent the data that's been extracted from the invoice itself. So there's a viewing document area with viewing tools. There's a document tree view for navigating multiple documents quickly and easily. And then there's fields where extracted data is presented. And then the error warnings with explanations as to the nature of the errors and corrective action. So the system's automatically said, we see a mismatch here, we see an error, and immediately presented you with all of the information you need to correct those errors or at least validate what the system has extracted. And as part of that, there's processing wizards to help guide you through that process. So you can handle it step by step and ensure accuracy and validity of all the data. Now again, as I mentioned, the validation process is only necessary here if something's been flagged. Otherwise, the approval process handles what the system needs according to the business rules to complete the transaction process. So here the first step is to verify characters that could possibly be causing other errors. And this step can reduce a lot of exceptions and spend a lot of time spent. Okay, so it's just looking at making sure nothing's been miskeyed. Maybe it didn't misread a character or something like that. So the next step is to validate the business rules. The first issue is missing data. In this case, there's a missing GL code. Here the user supplies the GL code, selects confirm, and then clicks next. Next, we find a duplicate invoice. And in this case, the user is going to reject that duplicate, right? We're not going to double pay on this. We flagged it. We want somebody to validate that for us. So that's where at least we want some human intervention. Here's where they reject it. And that automatically sends a note to the supervisor indicating that, yes, I've confirmed that this is a duplicate. So one last scenario, a partial shipment was flagged. So as part of the three-way matching process that was used, we can see that the user does some investigation with the vendor and escalates this invoice because of the mismatch. And you can add comments then as to the status obtained from the vendor to rectify the situation. So again, in this case, we're handling all of the things that conform to the rules for you automatically without any intervention. And where there are exceptions, you now have a system that can be proactive about identifying those for you and giving you all the tools at hand to deal with them very quickly. So another notable feature of this system is its machine learning capability. In the case of invoices, the subtotal field needs to be extracted. As with most invoices, based on the number of line items on the next invoice, the subtotal line could move within the invoice. This would cause a problem with many systems and cause manual intervention required to extract that data. But our system is a little smarter than that. With Artsil, users with a machine language license can teach the system to look for information that varies in its placement by associating with a key phrase or word. So rather than looking at where the information is located on the page, right, we can start to teach the system what to look for so it can find patterns. So that when an identified word or phrase is found, it's taught where the relevant data to be extracted is going to be. So again, over time it gets smarter and smarter and knows how to read your documents and find the information you're looking for. That further adds to the efficiency and cost savings when you're using invoice action. So we've seen invoices going for verification. One is rejected. One is escalated with notes for the appropriate resources. One is approved and exported to Sage. So the possible workflows are straight through processing. Again, no need for any human intervention. Approval processing, where all the data has been validated, but we want an audit trail for who approved it. And then verification processing. So if we take a quick look at the return on investment using invoice action, we see there's much cost savings that you're going to get from labor savings as a result of being able to deploy resources to perform higher value tasks. We don't want people shuffling paper or entering data, right? Your staff is more knowledgeable than that, and they have more to contribute to the company as a whole than those manual tasks can be easily handled through automation and through software. Obviously, reducing errors reduces losses through better data accuracy and validation. And it also enhances revenue management opportunities. What do we mean by that? We mean you can optimize cash flow versus early pay discounts. You can choose when to pay and have control over that in a way that most benefits your organization. And frankly, if you're struggling to keep up with paper invoices and you don't have visibility to things like that, you're really missing out on some opportunities. So overall, the return on investment for invoice action is quick and it's lucrative. Most of our customers tell us that they achieve return on investment for the entire system within 6 months. So from the architecture of our transformation platform, the capabilities it possesses, and the action-based solutions, virtually any business process where document-based data is involved can be automated and optimized. So again, we focused today on invoices. I mentioned sales orders. We have universities that use our solution and rely on the integration to do things like handle student applications. And their goal is to get an application processed and get an offer letter back out to a student and be the first university to have that in the inbox. Because from their standpoint, the first one to send out that acceptance letter is the university that wins. So we're focused on gaining efficiency for all of the users in the process, creating more visibility and control over the process, and ultimately allowing your staff to spend time adding more value to the organization as a whole. I mentioned earlier, by the way, that we do work through partner channels. If you're interested in working with Artsel, we do have a partner program that will fit your business and your go-to-market model. And we're always interested in working with new partners. So if you want to take a further look at this platform and explore opportunities, feel free to contact me. I'd love to show you a live, in-depth demo of the solution. The intent today was kind of give you a high-level overview to understand how it functions, the pain points that it addresses, and how easy it is to use and get set up and running. So if you want to take further opportunities, contact me at the email address or phone number below. I know the session is going to be recorded, so if you want to share it with your peers, please feel free to do so. Adrian, with that, I think I'm going to turn it back over to you.
Thank you so much, Will. Great presentation. I'm going to go ahead and launch a poll while we're answering some questions here.